The Breakfast Club, bitches.
Who's Donkey of the Day today?
Yes, Donkey of the Day for Tuesday, October 15th goes to a former Texas police officer, now murderer, named Aaron Dean. Now, if you haven't heard, Aaron Dean fatally shot a Fort Worth, Texas woman named Atatiana Jefferson early Saturday morning. If you need a refresher, let's go to KXAS NBC5 for the report, please.
Neighbor James Smith, who called police to this house at 2 in the morning for a welfare check because the lights were on and the door was open, blames himself tonight for this woman's death. 28-year-old Atatiana Jefferson, a college graduate who was at the house looking after her nephew. That police officer's shirt cam video shows him looking around outside the house, but never speaking to anyone until he sees the woman through a window, barks out a few words, and immediately starts shooting. The police video shows a gun was later found in the house, but it does not show the victim pointing it.
Dear law enforcement, how do you expect us civilians to ever trust you when you continue to make mistakes like this? Your job is to protect and to serve, but who are you protecting and who are you serving? Because it seems like in situations like this, your sole agenda is to protect yourself and your interests are self-serving. And I'm not mad at that because the first law of nature is self-preservation. So even though you are supposed to be a public servant, the needs of the community, the needs of the public should come before your own. That's just not natural. So in those situations, you want to stay alive, just like we do. So what do you think is eventually going to happen when situations like this keep occurring? We want to stay alive. Cops want to stay alive. But at this point, cops are looked at as threats. So the same way y'all are quick to pull a trigger to preserve self, how can you expect another human not to feel the same exact way? All right. That news report said Atatiana had a gun in her house. So what? Do 2A rights not exist for her? She has the right to bear arms, and I wouldn't care if she had the gun in her hand. If I'm in the crib with a small child and I see men creeping around my yard with flashlights, I'm grabbing my firearm too. Why? Because of this thing called self-preservation. Why y'all creeping around this woman's yard with flashlights? Pull up with the lights and sirens blaring. Make your presence known, okay? What is a young woman supposed to do in that situation other than try to preserve self? Even if she did grab her gun in a situation like that, it's because she thought it was a threat on her life, all right? She just probably didn't expect in that moment for the threat to be coming from the police. Now, yesterday I asked myself a question. I said, why does it seem like cops are the only public officials that can consistently get away with malpractice? Was Atatiana Jefferson going to be the latest victim of police malpractice? Would this police officer, Aaron Dean, suffer any consequences for this improper, illegal negligence? Or would the justice system give black people their ass to kiss per usual? Well, there was a turn of events yesterday, and the first step to some justice potentially. Let's go to KXAS NBC5 for the report again, please.
Aaron Dean was arrested around 6 o'clock this evening. It's unclear if Fort Worth police officers were actually the ones that arrested him or perhaps another agency. But what we know for sure, according to jail records, is it is Fort Worth police who are bringing these charges, this murder charge against him. And just a few minutes ago, they held a brief press conference.
To the citizens and residents of our city, we feel and understand your anger and your disappointment. And we stand by you as we work together to make Fort Worth a better place for us all.
That's great, but I'm not going to applaud you for what you're supposed to do. Okay, I am happy Aaron Dean got arrested, but I don't get too excited when police officers get arrested anymore because we need convictions. We need police officers not getting special treatment, okay? No blue privilege, no justice system looking out for each other. We don't need judges hugging on him in court. We don't need family members of Atatiana Jefferson hugging on him in court and saying they forgive him because we see that things like that sway the opinion of the jury, okay? We don't need other police officers rubbing him on the back of the head to comfort him. We need that man sentenced like you would do any other regular civilian who murdered somebody for no reason, period. All right? In Fort Worth, you have to be very, very careful, okay? I'm happy that you all acted swiftly and arrested this officer, Aaron Dean, but you have to follow through and show the people that the justice system is truly just because I don't think any of us want a repeat of what happened in Dallas on July 7th, 2016. Remember that? when I think his name was Mika Johnson, fired on a group of police officers in Dallas, Texas, killing 5 officers and injuring 9 others because he was angry over police shootings of black men and stated that he wanted to kill white people, especially white officers. I'm telling you, when you see stories like, Botham Jean Case, minding his business, sitting in the house eating ice cream, and then he gets shot by an off-duty police officer, I'm glad she got 10 years, but it should have been more. When you see cases like Atatiana Jefferson, someone calls the police to see if she's okay because her door is open. He's trying to make sure she is not becoming a victim, and she still becomes a victim at the hands of the police, the same people who are sent here to protect and to serve us. Listen, Fort Worth, you have to be very careful. Okay, you are smoking near a gas tank. This is a combustible situation. No finessing your way out of this one. No painting the victim like she was an actual threat, because she wasn't a threat. And that cop was wrong. Ed Cross, the Fort Worth interim police chief, said it himself.
Had the officer not resigned, I would have fired him for violations of several policies, including our use of force policy, our de-escalation policy, and unprofessional conduct. Despite his resignation, the officer still faces criminal charges from the major case investigation.
Fort Worth, you have an opportunity to show that police malpractice will not be tolerated. You have the opportunity to show that Black lives do indeed matter. Okay, America needs to monitor this situation very, very closely, because Fort Worth, Texas is a powder keg waiting to blow. And I have 3 words for the justice system in Fort Worth. Don't blow it. And you don't have to take my word for it. I'm just Leonard McKelvey, a.k.a. Charlamagne the God. I'm not a citizen of Fort Worth, but Rodney McIntosh, who is a pastor in Fort Worth at a church called Christ the Risen King. He's a community member. This is a pastor talking. Listen to what he got to say.
It's sad enough that our young men are being killed. But when our women are not safe, as men in our community, we are called to stand up and protect the women in our community. That's right. And when our women are not safe, then it's going to get to a point that we can no longer be passive. There you go. At some point, we have to fight aggression with aggression. As pastors and Christians, yes, we're called to love. We're called to forgive. But we're not called to be fools. That's right. And it's time out for you continue to kill the people in our neighborhood and expect us to be passive.
Please let Chelsea Handler give former police officer, now murderer, Aaron Dean, the biggest hee-haw.
Hee-haw, hee-haw. That is way too much Dan mayonnaise.
Donkey of the Day is brought to you by the law office of Michael S. Lamonsoff. Don't be a donkey. Dial pound 250 on your cell and say the bull if you've been hurt in a construction accident. That's pound 250 from your cell and say the bull.